Welcome back, everyone. It's New Mutator, and I'm going to bring you game number 2 of the Kickballers, I guess, which is the whatever it is that Rat King has organized. I guess it's going to be weekly or something. Um, and this was game 2 of the first week that I guess happened on Saturday. And yeah, let's throw it up here. Donsky versus myself, and so I think. I kind of want to find. I kind of want to watch all this chat to see what happened because I was so busy doing unit trading and whatnot. And that was kind of a running joke, I think, was that how awful I was at distributing units and getting that done in a timely manner. So this is Donsky's team, and on his team, I believe his first pick was Arsenic, then Mercadon, then Ankulator, then Cheery Day or Gabba or whoever that is. Then Alucard just kind of sauntered in, so he picked him up also. And he's going to be opposite myself. And my first pick was Giant Killer General. Big surprise there. And then Rat King was my second pick. Third pick was Milkman. Fourth pick was Sam the Butcher. Fifth pick was actually Viper Power. And I was trying to see if Donsky would actually pick up Renwood or not, but he ended up not picking him up. So I ended up getting Renwood for myself. A fact. So Renwood was picked last, which is a fact that he kind of was quick to remind me of. He gave me a little bit of guff for that, but he actually did pretty well this game. This is my pick, Stalk on the Borderlands territories, in response to the first pick that Donsky had, which was in the first game. And Donsky's trade is going to be kind of standard. He is going for maximum pus, 6 whites there for 1 journeyman to heal. 4 dwarves, mostly just warriors and archers, and then just 2 or 3 thrall there. So not a whole lot of thrall, but good mix of warriors, archers, and dwarves, and then maximum pus also. Now what I was doing was pretty similar, except not maximum pus, only 4 whites worth of pus, 3 or 4 dwarves, so kind of similar in that regard, archers, warriors, and then a medium amount of thrall, not a lot of thrall, but a good amount for flag defense. And I wanted somebody to be kind of a dedicated scouter, so I gave Viper Power that responsibility. So I was just like, here, take 2 goals, and basically I just want somebody to scout, to tag undefended flags, to put that kind of pressure on Donsky's team, so they have to kind of always be aware of that and always be allocating resources away from their main force. And I thought better than distributing everything evenly, it would be better if somebody had that role. And I kind of would have taken it myself, but I kind of wanted to be what, maybe I should have done that, but I was kind of busy distributing and stuff like that. So I was like, Vi, I forgot what I said, but I was like, I just need you on flags, buddy. Just take their undefended flags and keep that pressure on. And hopefully that'll draw forces away from their main force so that we can kind of outmatch them if an engagement were to take place. So what I have here is I have Milkman kind of with a larger force, and Renwood's kind of backing him up. Renwood has, of course, he has the fatty, as he likes to call it, the journeyman here, some pus, a dwarf, and some thrall. Milkman has this kind of mixed force here, and then I have Giant Killer General, who is kind of the northern flank here. Now he actually did a fantastic job this game in just being aware, map awareness first of all, and that's kind of why I chose him, so that I wouldn't have to tell him what to do. He could kind of just he just knows what to do in any given situation. So I kind of wanted that because I'm not very good at giving orders and telling people what to do and that kind of thing. So I wanted people who are kind of self-sufficient in that respect. So also mid, actually south here, we have, this is Rat King, and he's going to be teaming up with, I think, Sam the Butcher, who I gave some of these units here, a dwarf, a few warriors, and then maybe like 1 or 2 Puskulls, but I don't really remember if I gave him those or not. There's Viper Power with his goal force. I felt kind of bad. He was a good sport though, and and accepted that role that I gave him without complaints. So I got to hand that to him. Because I felt bad that I wasn't able to give him much more. I did have a couple of puzzles that I was going to give to him, but I ended up using them kind of in this engagement here, which is about to take place. Because as we see, we have Donsky, we have Arsenic, we have also GABA, or I'll just call him Cheery Day, all kind of converging on Rat King and Sam the Butcher, who are just outnumbered, vastly outnumbered at this point. So I'm like, uh-oh, something needs to happen here. And then I think now here's Mercadon over here. So Mercadon and what's his face? Somebody else, Ankulator, I guess, are back here facing opposite these guys. And I'm like, you know what? These guys need to collapse in on this force and just kind of help with taking it out. So I'm gonna back up a little bit here, and I think I tried to throw some pus on these. Oh, and that kind of didn't work. Let's see if this pus works a little bit better. I kind of wanted to freeze both of these dwarves simultaneously. So I looked at this and I thought, okay, well, the only way Rat King's going to survive is if we had Milkman and whoever else, Renwood, just kind of collapse back in on this force, and while they're engaged, and force them to either stay engaged or to back up and take some more losses. So we were able to actually sort of clean them up. Arsenic actually was the biggest threat at this point, at this stage of the game. Even though we're winning, we're up in percentages just a little bit, he does have this significant warrior force that is kind of a big threat, since it is existing in our backfield. And but we are kind of able to clean up most of these forces here. As you can see, it is close, but I think once we take out these archers here, as long as we can hold on to that dwarf, we should be all right. So Milkman moving in to clean that up. And so while this was happening, instead of following and engaging that, Ankulator and Mercadon backed up and started to chase away Giant Killer General. So Giant Killer General played a fantastic game of running interference, drawing that fire, drawing those forces away from this engagement so that we can actually come out on top. So as you can see, that the percentage discrepancy is just going to widen a little bit more here as we're up about 10% or so. While that's happening, we have GABA and who is this? Milkman kind of duking it out on this flag. One of my signature warrior duels there. And while this was happening, I was kind of worried that we would lose from being flagged, so from being 6 flagged, because I was moving out with these thrall here. At the last second I decided, you know what, I should move these out just in case things are looking kind of hairy. Like, it's kind of terrible if you have 5-6 thrall on the flag there and everybody's getting destroyed right, not too far away. So I moved them out, basically moved them on this flag, but I was kind of worried that we would get flagged in that interim. But fortunately for us, this flag was safely taken by Giant Killer General, even though there's this stupid thrall that's going to retake it. But he managed to keep both of these flags, and then also we have a significant force, like basically locking down this flag here. So there was no way we were going to get tagged. I was just worried for no reason at all. And so what's happening here is GKG kind of has to do like he has to kind of retreat, but he, it's not a full-on retreat. He's just falling back mostly, kind of with some rear guard action, I guess. He can poke at these forces if necessary with his units. Like, he has a Puskull, I believe. I don't know if that's it, but maybe he has more here. I don't know. But he could engage, but he's not going to. And see, this is the thing, is that we don't want to risk an engagement at this point. This is kind of the point in the game where it's just kind of a flag grab, where everyone's just kind of going for flags instead of risking a big engagement. But in this area, Ankulator would just love to force an engagement with GKG. Fortunately for us, though, Milkman is coming to his aid. We were able to free up some forces. Sam the Butcher's coming in. And these forces are mobile enough to just kind of move around the map, and they're going to be able to force either an engagement or just a deadlock at this point, at this location, because you can't really risk coming through without exposing yourself to this bottleneck. And here's Rat King. He did manage to save a few units, and unfortunately I didn't really have anything to give to Vi except for these units here on the flag, so he's going to just make sure that Arsenic isn't able to take this flag with his units. He better be careful though, unless he really wants to lose that goal. But so basically his role at this point is just to keep Arsenic's warriors from taking this flag, or any flag really. And so Arsenic, he's kind of like, well, what do I do now? So I think what he's going to do is he's going to try to run interference and try to distract Milkman's archers, so that Alucard and Anculator are able to focus them down. What he might not know is that GKG is moving in and basically flanking these forces and forcing them to basically engage two separate forces. So at this point our team kind of has an advantage at this location, because we are kind of it's not exactly a surround, but we're doing something kind of like that, where we're this flank is allowing us to hit them from two different angles, and that works for us. And they can't really engage too far in one direction or another, because then we'll just collapse on them, and that'll be bad for them. And luckily Milkman has this dwarf here, and that kind of prevents them from moving into this bottleneck. So GKG is actually in a really good spot while he moves in like this. And he does have that Puskull. He is going to throw it down, and he does manage to freeze and basically focus down that dwarf there. So good on him being able to do that. And yeah, zoom out's pretty cool. I like this. So yeah, I think normally like this is the maximum zoom out, but now I can go all the way. I kind of like being able to see everything that's happening. So Anculator and Alucard are just kind of in a rough spot, because they're just not going to be able to commit in either direction. And so they're just on the back foot here. They're just mostly defensive. We have a 10+% lead, so they're basically just trying to buy time for their other players with a few units to be able to tag flags. And I think Renwood tried to move out with that journeyman. He ended up getting his dwarf sniped at some point right here. I think Mercadon sniped him. He said, "Hey, free dwarf," something like that. But he was able to kind of penetrate into the backfield with that journeyman, which is kind of a big deal. But Donsky is going to retreat to this bottom flag here, and Redwood might have trouble taking that if that is going to happen. Donsky, there's a minute remaining. Donsky has these warriors here. I think he has his eyes set on this flag here. Renwood is going to drop these Thrall underwater before what's his name, Arsenic is able to move in, take the flag. So I guess he wants to lure him into a false sense of complacency, then move in, retake the flag. What he doesn't know though is that Donsky is on the way with a couple more warriors, so he is probably going to lose that flag eventually. I'm just kind of sitting on this flag here, making sure nobody takes it. So this is why it's important to get not just a couple of Thrall, but a medium amount of Thrall, just more than just a couple, because they're so cheap that you can afford just to have 6, 7 Thrall just hanging out, or more, 9 Thrall, and divide them up between 2 flags, because they're a very effective deterrent to just remainders of armies, the few straggling warriors. So that really works out for us, I think, in this game. But what won it for us, I think, actually the game's not over. Even though we took this flag, these warriors here, actually there's only this one warrior, so I guess Renwood's gonna hold on to this one. But who's this? Mercadon. I think Mercadon's probably not going to engage with these warriors. he could engage with these warriors. I don't know what's going to happen here. I think I might have the upper hand if I... Let's see, does he have... He doesn't have any warriors with vets. So, you know, he is going to run right by me and take this flag, so I think Renwood's screwed at this point. There's some more stuff going on here, and I think that Rat King might be able to take this flag out with just the gold. Brilliant use of that small pus there and in securing that flag for us. Meanwhile, I think this northern force has been pretty much cleaned up by Milkman and GKG, which is great for us because, you know, the fewer units they had, the fewer units they had to contest with. But I think we could have won a while ago, as long as, you know, but I guess they've been, you know, keeping things contested. Renwood's going to just hope that he can do something against this, but he's basically going to lose. I don't see how he can win against this. I think Murkerdon's going to take this flag no problem at all. And there he goes, focuses down one unit at a time and barely takes any damage at all. He just lost that goal, which was, you know, not a huge deal. And this is basically the main point of contestation. There's another one here where Rat King, I think, is going to be able to hold on to this flag. And then there's this here where Arsenic is going to be circling my Thrall with his warrior, attempting to draw them off the flag, but, you know, obviously I'm not that dumb. But I'm going to try to do as much damage as I can because I really don't want him contesting any more than he needs to. So, you know, in order to contest, he needs to have a proximity to the flag. But at the end, Merc says stop contesting because there's nothing they can do. They only have 4% remaining. And so Arsenic is easily repelled at that point because he hardly has anything left. Murkerdon, with the only remaining units on Donsky's team, he only has these 3 warriors at this point, and that's not going to be enough to take the flag from 5 Thrall. And even if he could, that's what, 2 flags to 4. There's really nothing. Oh, he has this warrior up here too. Maybe with 4 warriors he could have done it, but I think the losses sustained would be such that he wouldn't be able to take this flag from Vi for Power, or any of the other flags for that matter. The discrepancy is just so much that Donsky's team pretty much had no hope. So that's why they kind of gave up in the end. I think this was a pretty good game, though. And it was really close. I think what won it for us, though, was GKG, because while he was doing this, he was tagging flags in the backfield. He was doing multiple things simultaneously, which I'd noticed him doing. And I think that his kind of game awareness won it for us because he was able to peel off Enculator and Alucard away from this engagement in the east, and keep them distracted so that we can totally dominate over here, kind of get a leg up on forces, and then fall back without minimizing his losses, and so that we could reinforce him and basically repel and eventually eliminate the rest of Donsky's team's units there. So that kind of won it for us, I think. So I would have to say he was the MVP this game, although Milkman did a fantastic job. Look at this, 20 kills, 8 losses, 121 damage. That's going to be the most out of anyone in this game. And, yep, unfortunately for Vi for Power, he hardly had anything, but he actually managed to net, not positive ratios, but not negative either, so he actually did a pretty okay job there. Sam the Butcher didn't really do much of anything at all, only 6 damage for him, unfortunately. And I think everybody on our team, though, managed to get positive ratios, except for myself and Sam the Butcher. But even though I didn't get positive ratios, somehow I did get 35 damage, which I'm pretty impressed by because I didn't take all that much. I basically just had Thrall and a couple of Pus goals, and I don't even know what else. I think that's pretty much all I had. For Donsky's team, though, Arsenic had the most damage with 63 and the most kills with 10, but nobody really had positive ratios except for Murkerdon, who had 7 kills, 5 losses, and 4 survivors. So I think Donsky's team really struggled this game, especially after like the midpoint of the game, when they kind of lost that initial struggle in the East. I don't think they were really able to recover too much from that. And I think I made a pretty good call early on having a dedicated tagger slash scouter. So I think that helped a lot too. Plus, I had GKG on my team who just had the game awareness to pull it out for us. So that's going to be it for game number 2. Thanks a lot for joining me, everyone. The series is now tied at 1 game apiece. There's 5 games, but I don't think I have the 5th game. So I don't know if I'll do that. But this was a pretty good series, so hopefully you join us for game number 3, which will be coming up pretty soon. So we'll see you then.